is there a way to reverse grey hairs, or is it purely genetics? Well, in my case, it is genetics, but tyrosine, which is in animal foods, is really, it's what produces the melanin, in your skin and all that, also in your hair, the hair color. So most people that go on a carnivore diet, actually their hair actually becomes darker the more meat they consume, or more high tyrosine foods. But there are genetics. Unfortunately, we live in a where my ancestors didn't do the right thing, and what they did was they actually changed some of the genetics epigenetically, which means that certain genes are turned on that should be turned off, and they tend to make us more vulnerable to graying. So I have a photosensitivity. That means the sun grays my hair, which is bloody annoying. I mean, you may look, now that it's dark, obviously it doesn't look as grey, because usually I've got the window there and the light comes through and goes through my hair, and it seems lighter than it is in that regard. But still, I do have grey hairs, as you can see in certain, you can see them there, through here and all that. Now, my mother, her whole hair was grey, completely. My cousin, Arthur and Julie, first cousins on my mother's side, they were completely grey in their mid-30s. My sisters have got more grey hairs than I have, and they put colour through their hair. Now, for whatever reason, I did consume far more meat than anyone in the family. Even though I was having seed oils and stuff like that, I did consume far more meat than anyone in the family. And my grey hair, even when I was on a sad diet, I still loved meat. I still consumed, but I was having sugar, Randall cycle, seed oils, all that sort of shit. And so it's only now that I've started going out in the sun without wearing a hat and going out more often, where before I avoided the sun. I was in office and just avoided the sun, and used to just basically, I believed in the bullshit of putting slip-slop stuff on and all that, and just taking a supplement of vitamin D. And so the photosensitivity didn't affect. But now that I've been out and about getting natural vitamin D, what has happened is my hair's got a bit grayer because it's photosensitive. So there is genetics, unfortunately. In my case, quite strong genetics. I'm homozygous, which means I've got both genes that create this. Why haven't I gone completely grey like my other relatives? I suspect it's the animal foods that I've been consuming for large parts of my life, and furnished good levels of tyrosine and some of the other nutrients that have probably, I'm speculating now, have probably held off this natural greying that I'm susceptible to. Obviously, my younger sister probably more, because she was on an island in the Aegean, had more sun exposure than I had. And so she, so there was another reason there, but she had that genetics as well. But her hair was slightly blondish when she was young. So it's sort of, her hair went grey blonde. And so, yeah, so all she had to do is put more blonde in it to basically mask the grey hairs, so to speak. But her hair's not like blonde, it's sort of brown blonde, sort of a mix. But the brown hair started going grey, so she basically made her hair more blonde to basically mask the greyness. Vanity, yeah. Oh, most women do that. It's a vanity thing. But for me, I don't give a shit. I'm just glad that for most of my life, I never had grey hair for most of my life, compared to all my other relatives. And also for most of my life, I never had, well, about 10 years ago, I did have like severe alopecia. This was when I was basically with my cardiovascular disease. I had really bald spot here, bald back here. So I was really losing a lot of hair, this whole top part. And I was I was fearing it's just going to go, and I was going to end up bald as, because all my even my uncle, my father's got all these bald spatches, and it runs in on the Sopranos family. Everybody's got baldness or bald patches or alopecia, so it's quite severe in my father's side, and I was going that way, and I wasn't happy about it. But I can tell you, when I went paleo, and then I started noticing, and I'm going, the more meat I ate, the more hair I grew. And the more eggs I consumed, the more hair I grew. And so, yeah, pretty much I stick to eggs and meat as much as possible, and my hair just grows like mad. And even my barber goes, bloody hell, Harry, I know. I said,